During a critical time where our people are calling out for real solutions to real problems, healthcare, education, security, unemployment, just to name a few, this budget, though quite sizable in numbers, falls short in substance. And I said it falls short in substance, Mr. Speaker, because this budget is just a duplicate of many past budgets, just a different figure, a few printed new projects, and a large number of untouched, unfinished, neglected projects, which are accompanied by dozens of unanswered questions. Mr. Speaker, let it be clear that I do not stand here today to criticize this budget, not to oppose for opposing sake. Neither am I here to biasly represent any color. This is not part of my nature. I stand here because I believe that every Dominican, whether they live in the hills of Salisbury, the streets of Rosa, or the coast of Grand Bay, deserves to receive real benefits from the money this government spends in their name. We hear a lot about progress, resilience, development. But when we speak of the cries of the local farmers struggling for a market to sell their produce, or for proper access to their farm, the nurses without the basic medical supplies, the firemen not being able to respond to an emergency due to insufficient service vehicles, the tour guides begging for proper access to sites for safety of their tourists, an overdue promise of a vendor's arcade to accommodate the vendors, the young persons struggling to make ends meet, the public servants who have worked over 10 years and still have not been appointed. Mr. Speaker, the reality does not meet the delivery. Every year that we come back to this honorable house for another budget address, we see that monies allocated for key sectors are barely touched. Agriculture, only 34% was spent. Health, 26%. Tourism, 47%. Again, Mr. Speaker, the reality does not match the delivery. The budget brought forth is large in size but feels empty in impact. Too many promises, not enough delivery. Too many projects that look good on paper but never make it off the paper, Mr. Speaker. Year after year, the government brings forth these billion-dollar budgets, but what is the real impact on the lives of the greater numbers of the ordinary Dominican? What are we seeing on the ground in the villages and the towns? Mr. Speaker, I would like to know. Mr. Speaker, we are seeing unreliable infrastructure, inadequate health services and supplies, unsafe tourism sites, and youth employment. What the eye see does not match what the ears hear. Mr. Speaker, agriculture has become a forgotten priority in Dominica. However, I must applaud the Honorable Minister of Agriculture for his efforts in ensuring Dominica becomes the breadbasket of the Caribbean again, and for involving and motivating the youth in agriculture. Though, in my opinion, his ministry is given a disrespectfully low percentage of the budget yearly, the funds are still not being spent. 2022-2023 fiscal year, 34% was spent. 2023-2024, 29.48%. 2024-2025, 34%. That's less than 50% spent for the past 3 years. But you know what, Mr. Speaker? I cannot put 100% blame on the Minister for Agriculture. No, I can't do that. That's insane. However, I will urge the Minister, Honorable Roy, to take the necessary steps to achieve what he intends to achieve. Mr. Speaker, I'll take this time to highlight 2 key points mentioned during the Honorable Minister for Finance budget presentation on the Ministry of Agriculture. 1, the availability of over 300 acres of land for agriculture in different areas of the country, inclusive of Southern York. Mr. Speaker, this initiative has been in the airwaves for some time. I urge the Minister of Agriculture, with the help of his government, to ensure that this is not yet another budget item where the reality simply does not match the delivery. Number 2, farm access roads, the Kahum Road, more specifically. Mr. Speaker, though we cannot stand here and say that nothing was done on the Kahum Road, the plea of the farmers in the area is that they don't feel like enough is being done, and they don't feel like this road, which caters to farmers from Mao all the way to Polio, maybe even further, is given the priority it should. Especially when we are seeing a large percentage of the money allocated for agriculture not being spent. I urge the government to provide greater support to the agricultural industry and its minister. Mr. Speaker, to the Ministry of Health, I had a bit more written, but after hearing Honorable Laville's presentation today, I had to withdraw. In all my time in Parliament, I can say this is the first time I actually listened to him and was very impressed. The new approach he took on the health industry is one to remember. However, I still need to emphasize that we need to prioritize our healthcare system, especially during the modern times. I was hoping to hear mention of a few things, which I will outline here. What about the ambulances? There's a shortage. I had an incident when I was at Fresh Market, and a young lady, I don't know her from head to toe, she was having a few seizures. Fresh Market is on the same line with the fire station headquarters, they're right there. 30 minutes, that young lady was on the floor having seizures after seizures after seizures. There was no ambulance inside to assist her. None. Not a policeman nearby to take her to the hospital, nothing. Luckily, the staff of Fresh Market, one of them took their vehicles and had to bring her up. That is insane. From there to there, that's ridiculous. So I'm asking, what about the ambulances? What about the fire trucks? What about the fire trucks? What about the risk allowances for the fire officers? I applaud the risk allowances for the officers. What about those for the fire officers? We spoke about positive reinforcement for the nurses, the doctors. Let's not forget the servicemen. Let's talk about my favorite ministry, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, you know that?
A ministry of all hype and little support. We hear a lot about the potential of tourism, but potential without planning or proper implementation is just talk. Less than 50% of the allocated funds for the Ministry of Tourism was spent. You know what that means, Mr. Speaker? A number of projects were left untouched and or incomplete. During the Honorable Minister of Tourism presentation, she proudly mentioned a number of projects by giving a completion timeline. Number one, Anzime Port, the Mariner, cruise ship berth, site enhancement. All these projects are projects one should be excited to hear about, Mr. Speaker. But I cannot be excited. You don't know why? I have stood here for free budget. That's my third budget. And all three budgets, those projects were there. Mr. Speaker, they were there before. And majority of the time, no work is being done on them. Majority of the time, not all the time. Not all the time, but majority of the time, little to no work was being done. You know what's questioning again, Mr. Speaker? The famous vendors arcade. At this point, I don't even know how to call it. Vendors arcade, vendors market. Every year I come here, the name changing. Last year it was vendors arcade. This year is the market. Mr. Speaker, the famous vendor market was not mentioned. Not once by the Honorable Minister of Tourism. I remember the first time I stood here and I spoke of the vendors located on the Dame Eugenia Charles Boulevard and called it a shanty town. The minister stood and mentioned that I do not care about the vendors, we were asking for them to be replaced.
Fortunate.
Mr. Speaker, who cares now? Because every time I speak here during budget, I mention that same vendors, arcade, market, shopping, sports, whatever you want to call it. I stand here and I ask for it. But it's coming, you know, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Il pas de jamais we make like Max, it's coming. The reality of this vendor's arcade has not matched its delivery as yet. Mr. Speaker, I must agree that tourism industry is doing much better in regards to the increase of visitors on the island. This is indeed a fact. However, you smart to know. However, we must give flowers where it's earned. We too like to take the flowers for ourselves. Give them people their flowers, Papa Boje.
I agree.
For example, when my colleague was speaking, she mentioned the bike show, the Ace breakfast fest. Oh, who's sponsoring it? Oh, we sponsors. Well, my question, when it started the first time, who came with the idea? Was it you guys? Give Asa Banton his flowers. Give the bikers their flowers. You are assisting now. Yeah, the people we have to say thank you to are the ordinary Dominicans who try their best to market Dominica to the outside world. The Boyo artists, the TikTokers, the employees at resorts like Sacred Bay who work hard to ensure visitors get an experience of a lifetime. The tour operators. Mr. Speaker, these are the people who deserve the flowers, and I thank them. Mr. Speaker, we cannot build a resilient Dominica on a foundation of weak governance. This budget remains out of touch with reality. How do we expect to balance resilient development and fiscal discipline for sustainable growth when we fail to prioritize key sectors? As I wrap up my presentation, I want to again urge the people of Kulibistri. I don't forget about all you. I come in. I come in on that. God is alive. God is there. One day, your cries must be heard. Maybe one day I'll adopt them and take care of them. Who knows? But I would like to leave you guys with a scripture. As Psalms chapter 9, verse 18 states, "For the needy shall not always be forgotten." I thank you.
Yeah. Let's proceed. AG, I see you on your feet there, so I recognize you. Attorney General, Levi Peter, you may take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure how I follow that one. I'm not so good at bowing, so I'll try. Mr. Speaker, it's late. I understood I'm in the wrong pageant, but I'll do the best I can. Mr. Speaker, the theme of this budget is very clear and profound: balancing resilient development and fiscal discipline for sustainable growth. Interestingly, the submissions made by the opposition seem to have been focused on one or two areas that each of them lamented. And it is a lament that has been exercised for a number of years. But the reality is, Mr. Speaker, the budget was clear for all who heard it or saw the presentation, and it's very clear that this is an excellent budget, and I stand to give my full support to this budget, some $1.3 billion, Mr. Speaker, evidencing and indicating, supporting the progress that we are making, despite the challenges, and various speakers have highlighted the various challenges that we have experienced as a nation over the past several years. Mr. Speaker, I have a sort of a gentleman's bet that I shan't be very long with one of my colleagues who says that I frequently say that I'll be 5 minutes and then I'm 40 or 50, but I'm certainly not going to be 40 or 50 tonight, Mr. Speaker, because, as I said, everybody has addressed the fundamental points that need to be made in relation to this budget. Mr. Speaker, I note just a few heads. Tourism clearly demonstrates from the figures, from the stats, that tourism is making strides, and Mr. Speaker, that is to be commended. Mr. Speaker, in similar vein, if technology allows me, I have to make note of the infrastructural development, in particular the international airport that we all know about, but more personal and close to home is the marina, which is in my neck of the woods in Portsmouth. I probably Mr. Speaker, you never know. Things do happen. It may well be, but I don't know if my boat will be able to go in the marina, or if I'll be able to. Anyway, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the third issue that I think is of importance is the whole garbage issue. We know that that's been a topical issue in Dominica. And I think, Mr. Speaker, we need to be honest with each other and with ourselves. Garbage is not created by the government. Garbage is created by the populace. And it is for us, and it was said by the Minister of Finance, Dr. McIntyre, in his presentation, that we have to take individual responsibility for things like garbage. There's a role and function for the government. The government recognizes that and has acknowledged that and is stepping up to the plate. But the inhabitants, we the people, we have to do our part. And we heard some speakers indicate ways in which that can be done with a degree of clarity that I think we can all go home and separate what we put in our plastic bags. I think it was our colleague here who was saying what you put in your clear plastic, what you put in this, what you put in that. Mr. Speaker, I think that's very good advice that all of us can take on board, and we can tweak it to suit ourselves, but we can manage our garbage at our homes. And if we do that, it will significantly improve the garbage situation as a whole, Mr. Speaker. I also myself recognize, and I think we should all bear in mind, that the Minister of Finance gave us notice that at some point in the not too distant future, we will have to be exhibiting and demonstrating that personal responsibility by way of a contribution to the cost of collecting and managing garbage. And I think, Mr. Speaker, that is a totally acceptable and reasonable approach and expectation. That's almost a necessity now with the level of garbage that we as a people generate, and we must expect to contribute to its management. But, Mr. Speaker, perhaps the pièce de résistance of this budget is what has been dubbed, interestingly, Opportunity Knocks 2% housing program. Mr. Speaker, I think that is a tremendous proposal. I think that it's also a tremendous opportunity for those who can benefit from it. I don't know, Mr. Speaker, if I'll be allowed to go back to the starting line and try again. 2% is phenomenal. Getting 2% is something that I think all of those who are eligible should be trying to get to the front of the queue to take the benefit of this really tremendous opportunity that the government is presenting to public and police officers in the first instance. And I would suggest, Mr. Speaker, that there's nowhere that they are going to get a better offer than 2%, 6 months grace period. That's an incredibly generous offer and proposal, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the budget also touched on climate resilience, and we know that since we were struck by Hurricane Maria in 2017, that the Prime Minister shortly thereafter, within a matter of days, was at the United Nations presenting and declaring to the world that the intention was to make Dominica the first climate resilient country in the world, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we have been making strides towards that with housing, construction, and various other ways that we have been seeking to bring that into a reality. And Mr. Speaker, in that vein, it behoves me to draw attention to something which has passed, perhaps without a great deal of notice and fanfare. But in the recent days, in fact, last week, 23rd of July, the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, delivered an advisory opinion in relation to the issue of climate change as a result of referral, a request by the United Nations to the ICJ to provide an opinion, an advisory opinion, because the ICJ is not binding, but its judgments are very persuasive, and certainly they are known to have powerful effect. And Mr. Speaker, on the 23rd, the ICJ delivered its advisory opinion, and it was unanimous. I think there's some 17 judges on the ICJ, and it was a unanimous decision across the board on every issue. But in summary, the opinion is that states are obligated to ensure that they do not conduct or act, or by act or omission, in a way which damages the climate or harms the climate, to use the language. And if they do act in a way which causes harm to the climate, that they can be held legally responsible and can be made to pay compensation in various forms. Now, Mr. Speaker, obviously the ICJ doesn't have the power to do that, but that advisory opinion, I'm pretty sure, will lead to some cases being lodged rather soon by some nations. And we, that's Dominica, was a party to that proceeding at the Peace Palace in The Hague, Netherlands. We were represented by the chambers of the Attorney General at that hearing, along with many other nations, and certainly the small island developing states were the leaders really in that, and Vanuatu in particular was the prime mover, and managed to get many of the other small island developing states, in fact I think virtually all, and a number of major states to join in that proceeding. Mr. Speaker, it's a significant historical landmark opinion, and I suggest that we pay attention, because I think that it's likely to play a significant role in climate issues and litigation going forward. The budget, Mr. Speaker, made reference to the issue of law and order and the judiciary, and the Attorney General was given a task to review and advise with respect to the whole issue of appropriate legislative action to address the identified challenges and delay and so forth in the court system. Mr. Speaker, some of those issues are clear, some are less so, but what I can do is to give the assurance on behalf of the Attorney General that he will do all that he can to discharge the task that has been attributed to him. But as with most things, it will also require the involvement, engagement, support of all of us. Some of us will have a specific official function, but law and order, Mr. Speaker, is in the benefit of all of us. All of us are citizens, whatever party, whatever religion, whatever sporting team we support or don't support. Law and order is critical and essential for us to be able to enjoy a peaceful existence in this land. And whilst on that, Mr. Speaker, I'm particularly concerned with the prevalence of firearms. It's a matter that has been spoken about and has been spoken about in this House several times in the past, but I think this House is a place where we need to raise these things, and when they're important, keep raising them. I have to shied away from doing it in the past, but I have to say here and now, in this public forum, that the courts need to do much more. The courts need to take more robust action in dealing with people who come before them for possession of unlicensed firearms. This Parliament, in I think it was 2014, the government brought to the Parliament legislation to repeal the then existing Firearms Act and to introduce, among other things, significantly increased penalties for various firearms acts. Since that passage, that is what the court should be adhering to, and so far as I can tell, they are not doing so, or at least not doing so sufficiently. I have a saying, I said it when I was a magistrate, and at that point in time it was a $6,000 fine, I believe. Occasionally there was a custodial penalty. But I've always said, forgive me, a firearm has one purpose, Mr. Speaker, and one purpose only. A cutlass has various purposes. But there's one. A gun is one purpose. It's a deadly weapon. It's designed to kill. It's not designed to shoot anybody in their knee. It's designed to kill. That's what a firearm is for. That's what it's designed for. And Mr. Speaker, if anybody has an unlicensed firearm and they go before the court, that's the way the court should be sentencing them on that basis. We need to stop this thing of giving people fines that they just, as you give them the fine, either the bigger boss goes and pay it, or they themselves pay it. This is nonsense, Mr. Speaker, and it needs to be stopped. We need to curb this firearms issue, and we need to take strong action to do so. Mr. Speaker, finally, and I think I'm on course to win my bet, Mr. Speaker, the opposition, and I'm not going to name names, but from the opposition benches, various points were made, but just two that I think I want to comment on. One is the old chestnut of the CONs, that's the Certificate of Naturalization in relation to CBI. Mr. Speaker, the Certificate of Naturalization is issued to every person who gets citizenship. That doesn't mean that each certificate of naturalization, or I shall call it a CON for short, it doesn't mean that every CON is to be multiplied by $100,000 or whatever is to be multiplied by $100,000 or whatever the